fallen off a little bit lately. Is our blue Terran player to the top left-hand side hasn't quite been as dominant, as formidable an opponent as we've seen him be earlier in the year and at the end of last year. Our blue Terran player is ByuN from Team Expert. He is up against, right now, indisputably, one of the most powerful players around. He just won GSL vs. the World with a 4-0 in the finals against TY. Give it up if you're cheering on INnoVation. Sure, ByuN hasn't been dominant in 2017, but he's hardly been a walk in the park. He's had, he's not been, I guess, as crazy as he was at the end of last year, but he's still been one of those players, especially because of his form at the end of last year, that we've looked at and we're like, okay, well, this is a guy that we, this is a guy that we should be afraid of in competitions. We should be kind of looking towards. I know what you're saying, though. I do understand that it's a tough one to kind of call. I know what you say. Like, I think it's kind of weird for me, I guess, because this year's gone so quickly. I kind of still feel as though ByuN is that player who did win BlizzCon, who showed up and did a fantastic job of it. I mean, yeah, I don't think he's having that bad of a 2017, right? I mean, he made the semi-finals of IEM just recently. He's been doing well online still. He's just been struggling in the Premier events, the GSL, the SSL. He hasn't quite made it into those as much as we would maybe expect him to. Yet he's still in the running to make BlizzCon this year. Sure, he's not right in the top there, and his life is very much so on the line with the GSL tournament coming up, but he has still got that opportunity, so he's definitely not been doing that badly. Okay, I suppose dominant maybe isn't the word, but it's still a very strong player. Opening here will be into a factory immediately from both. ByuN a little bit further ahead on gas count, and that's just because he didn't build that Reaper right away, like INnoVation opted to. You see the refinery dropping down as well. It's just going to be seeing, yeah, slightly differently timed out build so far. The lack of a Reaper from ByuN is obviously a bit different as well. So just bits and pieces as we set up into the early stages of this TvT. Again, the mirror matchups, really some of my favorite in the OG 6-star, just to see kind of how different things can be, how things can change so quickly and so suddenly. And as we do see, the Reaper just sat atop the ramp. And the starport just starting to come on down onto the tech lab. Reactor actually builds up from ByuN, so he's again just setting up into this 1-1-1 as his INnoVation. I mean, overall it feels as though they're going to end up in a similar sort of position. It was a little bit late on a reactor. Looks as though he might not build it at all, so giving up the reactor to continue building Marines. He'll have more Marines right away, but less Marines over in the long-term kind of period. An immediate cloak for ByuN, who looks to head in towards the Banshee then. From INnoVation, he too will go into an immediate cloak and a Banshee, although ByuN's actually missing the Banshee still for himself, so finally gets that going. A little bit cleaner here from INnoVation overall, who'll now build his reactor on the factory. Gets that set up and ready to go. And while this is going on then, I mean, a Hellion at the top of this ramp from ByuN, just sort of keeping an eye out. Same story for INnoVation over here. Wow. Apologies. That's me pressing the wrong fucking button. God damn it. I really need to re-hotkey that. But yeah, we are cast, just to clarify again in case you weren't here before, we are casting from replays today. These games were played earlier today or yesterday. So when I hit the B button, I accidentally rewind 7 seconds. So apologies for that. Just wanted to show you the vision actually of these players, which is that they really have only seen their own main in the front of their natural. Neither of them being really that explorative when it comes to kind of trying to find any bits and pieces. I mean, the same kind of depot marine setup on the side of their kind of base, just to stop any Reapers hopping up in this direction. There's again a Banshee on the way on either side of the map, the cloak coming up as well. You see this SCV of ByuN just going to come on down, get ready to build up that CC in the next few moments. A Raven on the way from INnoVation then. And as he sets up in towards that, he will be the player. Both players will be the player with the Raven to try and help defend against the Banshee. So let's see who's going to be able to get more done. 2 Hellions going to lead the charge from ByuN through the center. Well, what's up over here? There's a Reaper at the front. There's an SCV about to build a CCs, a little bit behind ByuN on that one. Again, it's very similar builds, just with slightly different ways of getting from point A to B. And INnoVation really focusing a bit more on Marines. Hellions here from ByuN instead. And as the Banshee leads the charge, it will cloak up straight over this first Reaper, which he will pick off pretty swiftly. And he'll leave the Hellions to get rid of the SCV on the low ground, as he will actually find this Widow Mine as well. So ByuN already looking to get quite a bit done. He actually misses the Widow Mine though. Now the Raven comes in, and ByuN hasn't seen the Widow Mine, but it goes off onto the Hellion rather than the Banshee. Meanwhile, Banshee on the other side of the map from INnoVation picks up 3 kills already. Damage being done here. Hellions will get taken down, but the Banshee back into the main. Looking to pick up some SCV kills from ByuN as INnoVation just gets away with this Banshee. Picked up 2 more kills since we last saw it. And now, well, ByuN is also getting damage done. An Elder Turret available on this Raven if he wants to use it, and he will. Better to get rid of that Banshee sooner rather than later. And coming out of this, INnoVation on 21 workers against the 28 of ByuN. ByuN has taken a little bit of a lead here already in the early stages of this game number 1. So ByuN already taking a little bit of a lead. This Banshee will fly back home to get a repair, and that's something which INnoVation will have on his side at least. The fact that he can repair his Banshee and use it once more in this game. He's got this Widow Mine middle of the map as well, which is another way he can pick off another unit or so and start to make up a little bit of this 6-worker, 7-worker deficit. He's a little bit ahead in army supply just because of maintaining units, but he also had his CC on the low ground delayed, and that does mean that also ByuN now has his orbital on the natural up and finished. And again, just more economic advantages here from ByuN in the early few minutes of this TvT on Abyssal Reef. In fact, I'd say the 6-worker lead at this stage of the game, plus that slightly faster second mule, it's actually kind of huge for ByuN. Like, it really is something to work with. 5 to 10 army supply at this stage of the game is nice, but when there's a defensive siege tank up, you really have to do something special to get back into it as INnoVation, you know? You're not just going to be able to push across and just sort of wander up and be like, hey, I'm 5 army supply ahead, I'm going to win this fight. No. Especially in TvT, defender's advantage is just way too strong. So it will have to be something really quite spectacular. As ByuN actually made a second Banshee. Unfortunately for him, this really isn't going to find much at all, being chased down by the Raven and the Viking, and there isn't realistically a good way out of this. As we're going to be seeing the Banshee get shut down. Banshee does get blown on up, and we'll just see the Raven and the Viking pull him back over towards the natural. A couple tanks and Marines are going to start moving out in towards the center. This Raven from ByuN going to be overhead as well. Widow Mine going to unburrow and still coming in towards the center of the map here. We do just have INnoVation looking to be aggressive then, and this is the sort of thing where I talked about, like, if you're going to do some damage as INnoVation right now, you have to find a special way to do it. Walking into ByuN's base while ByuN is across the map is definitely one way you can do that. I mean, this is going to be INnoVation who's going to strike first, and he's going to strike pretty darn hard. I mean, ByuN's still positioned over to the right-hand side before he's even going to start doing damage. He still has to move into location. It gives INnoVation time to begin responding to that potentially at home as well. So INnoVation already just immediately in a bit of a better spot here. I mean, this natural CC is going to go down. Why was ByuN on the map? Did he really feel as though he's in a position to move over? Now this Banshee is fighting this tank, and there's no way for him to save it because the scan isn't ready just yet. This tank is dead as soon as auto turrets drop, if he even needs to drop them. I mean, the fact it's on siege just allows INnoVation to come straight on in. Meanwhile, ByuN has walked into the main base as well, realizing the importance of this, but there is a Liberator, but there's some auto turrets coming down to fight it across the map. INnoVation is definitely commanding this position, and he is going to start working his way through all of this production. A little bit of a base trade here, but INnoVation with more on the map already will definitely help himself out, and he maintains 2 orbital commands against just the current 1 of ByuN over here. He pulls his SCVs in once again. I think there's just no way for ByuN to win this with the air control in favor of INnoVation as well. It's not like you can just float into the corner, having denied INnoVation from mining here. As we're going to be seeing the orbital, the barracks, the starport all flying away in different directions. It looks as though this is very likely just about going to be it, right? I mean, INnoVation has SCVs left over. He's got the orbital coming across the map to mine with. He's got this one, which he'll be able to repair. ByuN knows it. GG, and INnoVation is going to go 1-0 up in this best of 3. And that really is channel. We are going back on the grind. We're going back on the grind to get back up towards 200 subscribers. It's going to be a big grind, a big journey, but we'll make it back there. We had stability around there back in May. And then we dropped off a bit as June and July didn't really go our way, especially for streaming. So, we're on our way back. We're fighting back. And for now, we'll go into game and talk about that rather than other useless bits and pieces. Top right-hand side, our blue Terran player. Give it up if you're going to be cheering on ByuN. Top left-hand side, our red Terran player, he's up by 1. Can he just sweep his way through into the winners match here today? It is going to be the machine himself. It's INnoVation. Questionable by ByuN to move across the map, I feel. I mean, he has to feel as though he's done pretty decent damage. You know, especially because he knows he delayed the CC by so long. The question is, does he really have to push across? Oh, maybe. I mean, maybe not. The thing is, if he gets across, and he does get in position, it can be very difficult for INnoVation to do anything about that. And that's where ByuN can then take even more of a lead. So it's a bit of a roll of the dice by ByuN. Didn't really have to do it, but he thought he'd give it a try. Obviously, really did not work out in his favor. And INnoVation able to close that first game out, even after falling a little bit behind early game. Hope INnoVation's practicing his TvT for GSL. I mean, honestly, his TvT looked absolutely fantastic at IM Shanghai. INnoVation versus Mario, one of the series of the tournament, I think. Very special place in my heart because I got to cast it, but it was really one of the better series of the entire event. I mean, it was just absolutely insane how good it was. It was really a lot of fun to watch and cast and all the rest of it, so... Do you see this SCV from INnoVation coming down towards the lower right-hand side? Having a little bit of a quick peek to see what's up and what's going down. Nothing too crazy, though. Nothing too crazy. Reaper of ByuN will come up top, and Reaper of INnoVation will move in towards the base as well. We'll get versus SCV here, and ByuN will actually turn it back around with his Reaper to come back in and try and intercept this. Now INnoVation has the high ground, and he will be able to... Ooh, he actually won't be able to use that. ByuN going to get a little bit of damage done there, and that will be good for him. So INnoVation has to back away with the Reaper, and the Reaper shouldn't go down. It should be fine. As ByuN will keep on chasing. Ooh, as he turns the corner. Ooh! I thought he might get it there by going into that little nuke, but he is going to get away until the Hellion catches it, potentially. And it is kind of somewhat obvious as to where it might go, but the Hellion's just not quite there in time, and the intercept is just a few seconds late. ByuN has let this Reaper slip through his fingertips, and he is going to be able to survive off over to the left-hand side. Cloakshi once again from ByuN here. Obviously very different playstyle from INnoVation. Building up the CC much earlier in the game than he did last time around. So an early expand from INnoVation. He'll be the defender in the early stages of this here on Frost. And let's see if ByuN can find some damage to punish INno for taking this earlier expand of himself. Reaper picks off that Hellion, and we are going to see this Reaper of ByuN going to be pulling on over to the right-hand side as well. So Reaper of ByuN pulls on over to the right to, again, just maybe see what it can get up to. See what he can do right now. Just going to see two Reapers and a Hellion of INnoVation going to continue over to the far right-hand side. I'm just going to try and do a little bit more. Isn't this a Heartless War map, Fancy? So this is like a very old map. It is being used in GSL. I think we're basically using the GSL map pool right now, or something along those lines. I think it was part of the reason they thought they would be able to get these players by putting the GSL map pool on rather than ladder. But it's not actually in the ladder map pool, but I think it's been used in GSL. One of these maps that just keeps coming back as this Reaper trades out for an SCV before being picked off. Again, ByuN is the one who has to do damage though, and that's what this Banshee is going to be looking to do. Down by 3 workers with a CC, only 25% of the way built. And while this Viking's already going to get one shot off, Banshee cloaks up to avoid the second. Scans, saving up, not available just yet, but there is missile turrets in each mineral line. So the potential damage here for ByuN really is limited. And INnoVation with a good setup here to defend against this. Going to minimize the damage he takes and keep ahead just a few workers. So from last game being behind that handful of workers early to this game, really take the lead in it. Looking kind of nice. We will see though ByuN finds a reactor. That's kind of nice because the reactor can, really does do a lot here. As we're going to see the scan coming down, Viking to push this away. Cyclone was trying to get rid of this missile turret on the low ground to maybe allow this Banshee to come in once again. Cyclone will be picked off now. Cyclone in return from INnoVation. This Banshee's about to run out of energy and INnoVation knows it. Gets the kill here, and the Banshee will fall. Was trying to chase down that last Marine just to maximize its damage output. As ByuN with an aggressive follow-up, he's saying, well, okay, you expanded a bit faster. I do have a slight army advantage to utilize here. And he's going to try and put that to use right now. However, is it going to be enough? It might not be, although it is the close spawns here on Frost, so it is very easy for him to wander across the map. and that definitely could play into ByuN's hands. Really is important he does something, though. Down by 9 workers. It's more substantial than it was in the last game for INnoVation. He was able to win it from there. ByuN has to do something, otherwise I'm starting to get really worried for him. You can see the Cyclone will be in a little bit of trouble, and SCVs have to pull into this. The Cyclone will rejoin the fight, as the SCVs will have to push this back, and this is ByuN now getting back into this game. Meanwhile, there was an audit turret, it feels like, in the main base, which was able to get some damage done, and all of a sudden, or another Banshee actually, all of a sudden ByuN has found the damage to bring himself equal in workers with INnoVation, and so he has tied things up a little bit here now, 7 minutes in. However, there's another. INnoVation just doesn't stop. You know, he loses one advantage, there's his next. Third CC is about to finish up. So third CC about to finish up, that's obviously a pretty huge deal right now. We're going to see another couple of barracks dropped on down. Starport will start up that reactor as well. He'll get that going. And we're just going to be seeing, still being pushed away from the front, these couple of Sea Shanks. Not going to be allowed to really do too much at all. Bunker will get blown up right now. No salvage available. And we do see in the meantime, though, INnoVation counterattacking with the Ravens. Auto turrets coming down, forcing these SCVs to be chased all over the place on the main base and in the natural. And they are picking up some good kills too. 5 kills on these Ravens, 5 and 3. How many did he get? 6 and 4. Yeah, not bad at all. And again, INnoVation retakes the eco lead. However, INnoVation is maybe about to lose this siege tank. Does he get away in time? No, he does not. That means ByuN is going to keep on edging further forwards to keep on pushing into this. He's only 2 bases, remember, so for ByuN, it's very important that he's able to do somewhat game-ending damage here, but he does lose 1 siege tank, which is not a great situation. SCVs and a Cyclone are going to surround this tank as well, and as the Ravens come back home, ByuN is going to be losing absolutely everything he has on this side of the map, and unfortunately for him, INnoVation will defend, and will once again just be continuing to play this out with a 3rd CC in his ranks. He's up on those 3 racks as ByuN going into 5 racks total, I imagine. Wants to just end this on 2 bases. He does not want to go further into this game. He wants to end it in the next 2 or 3 minutes and do that by being very aggressive. He could play very aggressively, and if he does enough damage and makes up for the fact he doesn't have a 3rd CC for much longer, he could then still take just a later 3rd command center in this game. That is something that ByuN can definitely build up towards here, so we'll see if that's something he goes for, as we do see 2 tanks, 2 Marines just going to set up on the watchtower. Raven overhead as well. Still just sat here looking to see what else is going on. 2 Ravens and a Viking up here from INnoVation. Sat around and seeing what else they can do as well. CC on the way up from ByuN now on the low ground. And continue to set up into this. So there is that later 3rd CC, as we mentioned. You definitely can get away with 5 racks first. Allows you to put on a lot more pressure. But ByuN has to start putting on that pressure soon. Otherwise INnoVation will once again just be starting to run away. I mean, so far it's been good. He's actually kept INnoVation kind of a couple workers behind, but that extra meal will still be adding up as well, remember. Sadly, because we have the 6 worker start mod on, there's no game heart mod, so we can't actually see how the income has been affected by each player or by either player throughout the earlier stages of this game already. 2 medevacs load up. They're going to come through the top side of the map. I'm going to go on over towards the upper right to see what else they can get up to. So they're going to be heading on over there, as we do see whole bunch of Marines, tanks, a Raven overhead to see what else is happening. Sensor tower has been set up as well, and we are just going to be looking to see what's going to happen. Raven, Marines, and tanks just going to be looking to push forwards and trying to do a little bit more. These double medevacs from INnoVation. Not finding a way to do damage just yet, but if they do find the right opening, the damage they could do would be insane. He is on 1-1 upgrades, by the way. That's one of the other things about INnoVation's build. He commits to double upgrades early, and that gives him a huge advantage in Marine fights, especially right now before combat shields is here for ByuN. INnoVation doesn't realize his advantage. He backs away to play the slightly safer game. Maybe just waiting to hit with 4 medevacs in one location. If he goes into the main with all of this, that could be very bad for ByuN. Really difficult for him to defend, because even as +1 attack finishes, he has no +1 armor. INnoVation 2-2 on the way. That really is a huge advantage he's going to be playing with here shortly. As here we go, INnoVation flies in towards the main base. 2 tanks will siege up in the corner. This missile turret will not even get rid of 1 medevac. And now there's so many Marines for ByuN to respond to. How's he going to do this already? One of his barracks going down. Another one is in range of these Marines. As the Marines will start pushing in, INnoVation backs away slightly. 2 racks killed already, just slowing down that production of ByuN, who just ran into the middle of the map with these tanks. He loses them, And that's INnoVation taking even more of a lead as he defends back at home without even blinking an eye. He doesn't even have to look back home because ByuN just moved commands into everything. INnoVation just sat in the main, barely anything left for ByuN to try and really turn this around on the other side. Well, what could he do? I mean, a counterattack's his best way of kind of dealing with this sort of situation. Is INnoVation finds an opportunity to run on in. Marines will get destroyed for ByuN. A tank will go down as well. He knows he cannot fight this. He knows it's going to be GG. INnoVation, absolute monster mode. 2-0 here over ByuN. He advances through to play solo.